everyone, and welcome to Reactivated, the 15-minute episode where we delve into the depths of the Robot Wars archive. Okay, we're going to start with our bot bit, and you might be a little bit obstructed with the chair here in the background, but on the screen behind me you will see a close-up of a particular part of a fight, but we're looking for the series, remember. So, which series did this take place? And there is a clue in the picture. Think of the robot. Answer will be revealed a little bit later on. Next, we are going over to our fantasy fight. So, in our heat, we already have two robots through. That's 13 Black and PP3D. We now come back to the pencil case and reveal another two robots who are going to be featured in the melee. Let's see. So completely at random. Robots from all 10 series are here. I'm not looking. Let's hopefully get a robot we haven't had in a fantasy fight. A Kilohertz. Okay, so Kilohertz, there we go. Kilohertz. Series 2, 3 and 4 version there, I think. Which one was the best version? Series 4? Let's go Series 4. Series 4 version of Kilohertz versus... Oh, hang on, here we go. Versus Apollo. Now, I think we've had Apollo before. Unfortunately, I can't fix this because we're all one take, so... It's going to have to be Apollo, isn't it? So, this is interesting because, of course, it's the old guard versus the new wave. This is Kilohertz, quite fast, very unreliable with the axe, versus Apollo, of course, Series 8 champions and subsequent heat finalists. With the flipper, of course. Who is going to win this? Axe versus flipper. For me, the winner here, because of the lower ground clearance, the more reliability, is Apollo. Now, if Apollo was against Terahertz in the reboot, in the later series, maybe more of a close fight. But because it's Kilohertz, unfortunately, this is the whole point of the fantasy fight, because it could be the older robots versus the newer robots, but in this case, Apollo would definitely flip Kilohertz into another galaxy. It would definitely hurt and kill. Kilohertz would be destroyed. So there we go, that is my fantasy fight. Apollo is through to the heat semi-finals, where he will meet PP3D, should I say, and 13 Black. Ooh, that's a tough semi-final situation there. So there we go. As we move on to a robot rewind. Okay, so this is where we focus on a particular robot that has been a highlight, a gem, an all-star, a robot that has been ever present throughout Robot Wars for a particular reason. And today, in this particular Robot Rewind, we are going to be focusing on Plunderbird. That's right. Okay, so Plunderbird. Plunderbird, the team, Mike Onslow and Brian Kilburn, they were there throughout the series. John Dilley, of course, was with them through Series 1, and Ken Burt through Series 2 and 3. But Mike and Brian were the two that really oversaw the robot. 5 versions, really. Plunderbird, and each series they came back. Plunderbird 2, 3, 4, 5. The only other robot that had 2, 3, 4, 5 at the end of their name was Firestorm, of course, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But Plunderbird, in Series 1, they were the showmen, weren't they? The Robot Wars. And I really enjoyed, not necessarily Series 1, I'll come back to that later. I will hold that thought for just a couple of minutes. But for Series 1, we thought that they were I don't know, they were a bit cocky, arrogant, weren't they? They pushed Philip out the way in the pits, didn't they, in one scene? And they thought they were the bee's knees, didn't they, of the series. Little did they know that they would do very little in Series 1 against Shunt. Bang. That was it, wasn't it? They came bottom of the leaderboard of the gauntlets. They didn't get through. Plunderbird 2, however, a much better robot and the most successful rendition of the Plunderbird machine. They came back for Series 2. They got through the gauntlet finally, even though they were pitted by the Sentinel, a little help from Matilda. But they then went through and defeated Dead Metal and Sergeant Bash in King of the Hill. A little bit of, I don't know, retribution, a bit of vengeance there, because the fact that Plunderbird was axed by Shunt in Series 1. And they did really well. They beat Enzyme, of course, in the Heat semi-finals in the arena. And then finally, the Mule, the favourite to win that Heat, they won. Plunderbird 2, they got through to the semi-finals. This is what's quite frustrating, because they had no weapon. They had nothing. It was just a pushing robot, wasn't it? It just didn't do anything. It was just a shovel. Anyway, they came back for Series 3 under Plunderstorm. And if seeds were invented back in Series 3, they would have been a seed, because they got through to the semi-finals. Now, the problem I have with Plunderstorm is that it really did nothing. It just fizzled out like a summer storm does in seconds. Does that make sense? I can't cut that bit out anyway. Let's go on. Anyway, so Thermidor didn't even have a flipper. It was just the claws. But Plunderstorm didn't even get off the mark. They seeded the favourite for that heat. No, that was it. So they didn't get off the mark. They came back with Plunderbird 4, a much better robot with the claw. Again, they didn't really do much. They were seeded for Series 4 somehow. They were seeded. Anyway, they got through the first round, and they lost to Nightmare. They were flipped on the side. Sadly, they progressed no further. And then their final incarnation was Plunderbird 5 in Series 5. And of course, we all know what happened. They were absolutely annihilated by the then novice S3. Which was a shame, because the robot was just destroyed. They couldn't even... That was the last appearance that we saw from the Plunderbird team, sadly. Plunderbird 6 had been half built, but never finished in time for Series 6, so we never really saw Plunderbird again. They made a mini-bot of the toy with the claw of Plunderbird 5, which I find astounding out of all the robots that you'd pick, but I think it's just the fact that Plunderbird, for me, the showman of Robot Wars, I enjoyed their entrances into the arena greatly. Of course, in Series 4, coming in via helicopter. Yes, so I thoroughly enjoyed Plunderbird's time in the arena. They were, without doubt, one of the best, most famous robots and roboteers to ever grace the arena. So there we go. Now we move on to Pit Stop Trivia. So this is the part of the show where we delve into a specific fact of the show, the history of Robot Wars. Today we'll be debating why Philippa didn't return for Series 7. Philippa, for me, is the ultimate pit reporter. Ever present, of course, through Series 1, 2, 3, 5 and 6. If you ever mention Robot Wars and pit reporter, it would be Philippa Forrester for me. She was perfect as a pit reporter. Throughout her run, I think she certainly had a fair share of memorable moments. I think one aspect I didn't particularly enjoy from her presenting style was towards the end, between sort of Series 6 Extreme 2, where I think it was a bit more of a comedy role. It wasn't an interest in the robots, it was more of a pastiche, a spoof of, oh, look at your robot, and have a bit of a laugh about it. But anyway, Philippa Forrester, fantastic reporter. She didn't return for Series 7, mainly because the reason was that she fell pregnant just after Series 6 Extreme 2. But it was never announced in the show. Now, this is where I thought that Series 7 just lacked the passion for me, really, because they didn't have the house robot introduction anyway. Everything just seemed a little bit all over the place. And just then for suddenly Jane Middlemiss to appear, and there's no reasoning. Like in Series 4, they had like a special VT of Philippa handing over the microphone to Julia, which was lovely, because we knew where Philippa was going and we knew why Julia was coming in. So for me, the whole... where is Philippa in Series 7? Because for me, for a long time, I didn't know where I just thought she had tired of the series, and that was it. Anyway, so there we go. Philippa wasn't present in Series 7 because she was mid-pregnancy. Now we move on to a bit of merchandise memories. Now, here I'm going to just quickly... we're going to review here. You can see Razor. Now, Razor was our second purchase, the toy. I had issues with Razor. The pullback mechanism and button, which operated the claw, just didn't work for us. If you pulled Razor back, it wouldn't go in a straight line for me. It would veer to the left or the right. And also the claw, that you can see even here from this newer version that we actually bought, the claw, oh, it does now, raises. But if there's any kind of contact with it, it just didn't work. So that was Razor that we used for the later series. As you can see here, this is an older version of Razor that has nothing on it. It's just a shell. And this was destroyed by Witch Doctor in our Series 8. Totally annihilated. There we go. And of course, Razor did come with the barrels and slope. The yellow barrels and the slope. And you couldn't even use Razor to get up the ramp because the pullback mechanism just didn't work for me. Anyway, there we go. Razor, for me, again, looked great. It had all of the details, even the Razor logo there. But as a pullback toy, it couldn't really do anything with it. Of course, in the end, we ended up just manually holding Razor's beak down at the back and then just crushing a robot when they got into the grip. So there we go. Razor, there is merchandise memories. Now there was just very quickly time to go over to our bot bit before we showed you a close-up shot of a particular robot, and if you were lucky enough to guess Bigger Brother and Sergeant Bash over the pit in Series 4, of course it was. There we go. Well done to anyone who got that right. There is just time to, just looking at the time there, to go over to some questions here. Right, here we go. So, Sajaris2563, in your series, thank you for your question, Sajaris, if Gravity won the International League Championship, how come it wasn't in the 20th Anniversary Champion of Champions? Simply put, Sajaris, Gravity actually morphed into Challenger. So there are certain parts of Gravity that we actually used for Challenger, and you can actually see the resemblance in the series of Gravity and Challenger. We just sort of changed the colour, really. So Gravity is Challenger. And Challenger, yes, of course, we're in the 20th anniversary special, represented both winning Series 6 and representing Gravity in the International League Championships. So thank you very much, Sajaris, for your question. There we go. I do have another question here from... I don't believe it. Okay, so... Right, I'm going to have to stop rambling on certain sections so I can get through. I've got so many more questions, it's unbelievable. Thank you all so much again for watching. Subscribe, download, share the video. We'll be back very soon with more Reactivated. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.